this. Good, good. Oh, tomorrow is the final. Okay. Good. Not sure. I see. It's too early. Oh. All right. Oh. What's a good page?
301.
301. Hey, what happened? That's the page I marked. I think I missed the class. Oh well. It's Chaim muted or?
I can't hear Chaim. Can anybody hear Chaim?
No.
Can who hears this?
Chaim.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Now,
yes.
there you go.
Okay. I muted and I unmuted, and that worked.
Good.
We have learned a lot about different functions between the name Havaya and the name Elokim. Havaya is the creator, the emanator, the source of existence. Actually, I'm going to change that. Power source of creation. Havaya radiates divine energy without limits and without restrictions. Elokim receives divine energy from Havaya and gives it structure. It regulates the light and makes it possible for creation to receive the light without being overwhelmed by it. In fact, the gematria of Elokim, Aleph Lamed He Yud Mem, is 86, the same as Hateva, the nature. Elokim is the source of the natural order by which the world runs. Natural order is a fancy way to say nature. I get to capitalize it too. Havaya is not bound by the natural order and can override the natural order, what we would consider a miracle or the supernatural. Okay. Therefore, when Moshe first went Paro to demand that he release the Israelites, Paro said, I do not know Havaya. After the plague of lice, though, Paro's magician said, it is the finger of Elokim. Paro recognized the natural order of the world as a supreme force. He could not accept a power that supersedes the natural order. This is also indicated by the name Mitzrayim, which is the Hebrew word for limits or constraints, implying that the world is constrained by the natural order and it cannot escape the boundaries of nature. Okay, Alan, please begin.
Parshas Bo, power in a name. Hashem said to Moshe, come to Paro, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, in order that I place these signs of mine within him. Paro did not know about the aspect of Hashem signified by the name Havaya, and in fact denied the aspect signified by this name, Hashem forbid, as it is written, I do not know Havaya. However, he did recognize the aspect of Hashem signified by the name Elohim, as it is written. It is the finger of Hashem, Elohim. The name Havaya signifies transcendent godliness, the aspect of divinity that is not limited by the laws of nature. Elohim, in contrast, signifies the aspect of divinity that Hashem uses to run the world and is thus subject to the laws of nature. The numerical value of Elohim, 86, is the same as that of the word for nature, Hateva. Pharaoh was the ruler of Mitzrayim, the Hebrew word for which literally means limitations. Pharaoh and Mitzrayim knew only of Hashem as present in the limited functioning of nature, the laws of cause and effect, survival of the fittest, and so on. He was therefore the archetypical antithesis to the Jewish notion of Hashem, the creator and therefore master of nature.
Okay. The Torah tells us of 3 ministers of Egypt. These probably functioned much like the secretaries of the president's cabinet. Is that an oxymoron? President's cabinet functioned? Okay. Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Transportation, and so on. There are 15 departments. Now, I imagine their department in Egypt oversaw their concern in the country. Guys, give me a better word for concern if you think of one. That means that they issued licenses, they made rules, they awarded contracts, everything for their department. In Egypt, they were the minister of meat, minister of drink, and minister of baking. In Kabbalah, these represent the 3 major channels in the neck: the trachea, esophagus, and the jugular vein. The neck is the narrow connector between the brain and the heart. Before I go on, the word for neck is ha'oref. Ha'oref is the same letters as paro, just a different order. So paro represents this constriction of the neck. In Kabbalah, these represent the 3 major channels. We did that. The neck is the narrow connector between the brain and the heart. In Kabbalah, this represents the constriction that takes place between ideas in the mind and the feelings which are inspired by those ideas that are in the heart. This constriction of the neck is also represented by the name Elohim. Go ahead, Alan.
This is because Paro received his sustenance and consciousness from the neck of Zeranpin, in which are present the 3 immature mentalities known as Paro's chief butcher, chief butler, and chief baker. The consciousness of intellect is altogether different from that of emotion. So in order for an idea to give birth to an emotion, the intellect consciousness must be greatly reduced. When this happens, and only the synoptic conclusion of the intricate intellectual development of the idea remains, the individual's consciousness is free enough of its prior intellectual preoccupation to react emotionally to the concept. However, this contraction process entails an inherent danger, that the full intellectual realization that was present when consciousness was focused on the idea will be forgotten. If this happens, then the person is vulnerable to all sorts of spurious ideas and distorted emotional responses. Anatomically, this passage from the head to the heart is manifest as throat. Just as the intellect must be contracted in order to become emotion, so are the head and the torso bridged by the narrow neck. The front of the head, particularly the face, reflects the full expression of the intellect. As it is written, the wisdom of a man lights up his face. The neck, being the back of the head, is out of touch with this full consciousness and therefore signifies the danger of forgetting the full import of the idea as the idea travels from the head to the heart. Thus, the Hebrew for paro, pe, resh, ayin, hey, is composed of the same letters that make up the word for the neck, ha'oref, hey, ayin, resh, pe. The three main channels descending through the throat are the trachea, the esophagus, and the jugular vein. These three are the physical manifestation of the contraction of the three mentalities of the intellect, chachma, bina, das, that allows for emotional response, as we have said. Inasmuch as they feed the mentality of paro, that is, that of constricted divine consciousness, they are personified by his three henchmen, the chief butcher, the chief butler, and the chief baker. I don't know.
Okay, I have to add the back of the neck, the paro, the same letters as aura. Okay, the power of Havaya is undeniable. If Paro would be attuned to Havaya, he could not have opposed Hashem. It's only because divine energy was restricted by the name Elohim that evil could exist. This is why he said he did not know Havaya. Jim, go ahead.
The three of them are the names Elohim. The name Elohim signifies contraction of divinity into the context of nature, as we've said. Since Pharaoh did not receive his sustenance from the expanded consciousness of the intellect, which is the three names Havaya, for whenever they are manifested, the forces of evil are annihilated. He did not know them as long as the full, properly developed intellectual conception of a divine idea is retained in an individual's consciousness. There's no chance for evil to make inroads into his thinking. It would be totally incongruous for evil to suggest transgressing God's will or focusing on oneself when the individual's mind is filled with divine awareness. Only when the revelation of divinity, signified by the name of Havaya, has been occulted, this being signified by the name Elohim, can evil stand a chance of derailing the individual from his intended path.
Okay, thank you. The letters Havaya, Yud and Hey, and then Vav and Hey, in its regular spelling, indicate flow of divine energy, create the world, maintain its existence. They actually describe how the divine energy flows, the four-stage process. When the letters are scrambled, they represent a variation of the ordinary flow of divine energy. I just like to say, Gershon had my class Sunday night, that every hour of the day, 12 hours of the day, we learned that the energy, divine light, flows through different combinations of Hashem's name. So one is Yud and then Hey and then Vav and Hey, but another one might be Hey, Vav, Yud, for example. And then at night, it's 12 combinations of Hashem's name, Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. Over here, it says that I guess it shows that something's not necessarily something's off, but it flows the way that's not the regular flow. After the seventh plague, hail, Paro said, "This time I sinned. Hashem is righteous." He said, "Havaya is righteous, and I and my people are wicked." So he does mention Hashem's name there, but the initials of the four Hebrew words, Hapam, Hashem Hatzadik, Va'ani, this time Hashem is righteous and I, spell Havaya in a different order. The initials of those 4 words spell Havaya, but out of order. Remember, over here I have it Hapam Hashem Hatzadik, and it's just a hey for Hashem. It's actually Yud and then hey and then Vav and hey and then hey. The first 2 letters are reversed. Where am I? Spell Havaya in different order. Hey, Yud, Hey, Vav. The first 2 letters are reversed, and the last 2 letters are reversed. The letter Hey, which is the first letter of each pair, indicates limits. Thus, although Paro acknowledged Havaya, it was still Havaya of judgment. It was Havaya whose power had limits or judgment. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Now, even when Pharaoh acknowledged the existence of the name Havaya due to the plagues that were visited upon him, he still only wanted to acknowledge the aspect of judgment of the name Havaya. This is alluded to in the verse, "This time I admit that I have sinned. God, Havaya, is the righteous one. My people and I are wicked ones." In this verse, the initials of the words for "this time," God is the righteous one, and I, Hapa'am, it's Yud K Vav K, Chatzarik, Ve'ani He Yud He Vav, spell a permutation of the name Havaya, K Yud K Vav, in which the first Hey precedes the Yud, which normally follows, and the second Hey precedes the Vav, which it normally follows. The name Havaya, derived from the verb to be, and thus carrying the meaning of to bring into being, signifies the process through which God creates and sustains the world. The 4 stages of this process, contraction, expansion, descent, expansion, are represented by the 4 letters of the name. When the name is written, as it usually is, this indicates the normal orderly progression of creativity. A permutation of the name signifies some variation of the normative progression. Here, the first pair of letters of the name are reversed, and the second pair are also reversed.
Okay, so actually it was the judgment of Havaya that struck the Egyptians with the plagues, and it could be that's why he recognized. Go ahead, Jim, the next 2 paragraphs.
All right, so this permutation of the name Havaya is the feminine manifestation, that of judgment, as is known, in which judgment prevails over mercy. As we've expressed previously, the feminine principle in creation is that which is driven to reveal and manifest divinity in the world. Since pursuing this objective entails a certain amount of danger to the individual's divine consciousness, the feminine elements of creation are endowed with a heightened sense of judgment and discernment, which enables them to identify evil in all its disguises. This illusion also alludes to the fact that it was God's attribute of judgment that smote them. Now, God wanted to subdue.
Okay. I'll pick up. Paro's admission of Havaya in a state of judgment was not enough for Hashem. Hashem's goal was to totally drive evil from Paro, which would mean recognition of Havaya spelled in its normal order. Okay, go ahead.
Now, God wanted to subdue Pharaoh's heart and nullify it in order that the forces of evil not gain a foothold through him, in order that the Jewish people be able to be freed from his dominion. Therefore, it was not enough that he acknowledged the name Havaya only in the manifestation, its manifestation of judgment. Pharaoh had to acknowledge the masculine aspect of the name Havaya as well. So it's the aspect of mercy, which is openly supernatural.
Okay. In the first pasuk of Bo, Hashem said, Leman shisi ososai ela bekirbo, so that I can put these signs of mine in his midst. The word ososai, which is my signs, can be read osos yud bekirbo, 10 letters in his midst, inside him. In expanded spelling, the word Havaya has 10 letters: Yud Vav Dalid, Hey Hey, Vav Aleph Vav, and Hey Hey. One moment. Okay, go ahead.
Therefore it is said, in order that I place these signs of mine within him. The word for sign, ot, also means letter. The word for signs of mine, ototai, may be split into the word for signs, otot, and the letter yud, since the numerical value of the letter yud is 10. The mystical meaning of this is thus, in order that I place these 10 letters within him. This refers to the full spelling out of the name Havaya, in which there are usually 10 letters. For God sought to fill in the name Havaya, and Pharaoh acknowledged with its inner letters. God sought to fill the name Havaya that Pharaoh acknowledged with its inner letters, giving a total of 10 letters. The spelling out of the name Havaya indicates the full manifestation and the revelation of this name. Pharaoh would thus be forced to acknowledge the full spectrum of the meanings of the name Havaya, and not only its aspect of judgment. Pharaoh identified with the judgment aspect of the name Havaya, since, even though the name Havaya in general indicates God's transcendent power that it is not limited to the bonds of nature, judgment in any case implies a harsh submission to the rule of law, leaving no room for overturning the established order. When this divine attribute functions independently of its complement, mercy, there is a clear danger of degeneration back into the constrictions of the divine order. This is what Pharaoh sensed, as does evil in general. This is what necessitates the extra precautions against evil, attaching itself to holiness that apply to all feminine elements in creation.
All right. Hashem would not be satisfied until Paro would accept in his midst the full meaning of Havaya with the 10 letters of expanded spelling. Paro would acknowledge that the function of the name Elohim is to limit divine energy of Havaya, so it is compatible with creation, but not to oppose Havaya. In his midst also means inside him, that is inside Paro. This just occurred to me as I was putting this together. It doesn't, I'm not sure if it says it explicitly, but we did say before in the book that if there's only Havaya, there's no way that Hashem could be denied. No evil could exist if there's only Havaya. It's only when Havaya, the divine energy from Havaya, is constricted through Elohim, then evil can say, look, there is, godliness doesn't apply here, it doesn't have an effect there. There is no godliness, it can't override natural order, and so on and so forth. So this is all because of Elohim that this can be said, that the godliness is concealed. My understanding here is that we understand that Elohim is there to work with Havaya and to regulate the light so that a world can exist. Someone like Paro looks at Elohim and doesn't say, okay, Elohim is there to limit Havaya and so that the world can exist. Elohim is there because this is what creation is all about. This is what existence is. Existence is Elohim, and this is the best. This is the best it gets. This is the strongest it gets, is this natural order that we have in the world, nature. And I don't believe in miracles. In the first page that we read, we said, Paro in Egypt do only of God as present in the limited functioning of nature, laws of cause and effect, survival of the fittest, and so on. Okay, Gershon, are you ready?
Maybe. As you know, Pharaoh attaches himself to Zer Anpin, that means holiness, at the level of the names Elohim of constricted consciousness. When the names Havaya manifest themselves within these names Elohim, the latter are nullified. This is the mystical meaning of within him, within Pharaoh himself. The conventional translation of these words is in his midst, or something similar. The literal translation is, however, closer to the mystical meaning of the verse.
All right, which is inside him.
Inside him.
The last 3 plagues and splitting of the Red Sea came from different expanded spellings of Hashem's name. Last chapter, was I think two and 3 lessons ago, we went through the first 7 plagues that are in the parsha of Va'era. The last 3 plagues and are in this week's parsha. As a reminder, the difference in expanded spelling of Hashem's name depend on how the letters Hey and the letter Vav are spelled. Plague number 8, locust, is from the name of 52. Plague number 9, darkness, is from the name of 45. Plague number 10, death of the firstborn, is from the name of 63. And the Red Sea split from the name of 72. Go ahead, Gershon, 305 at the top.
To return to our subject, Hashem wanted to smite them from this point on, using the power of the spellings out of the names Havaya. Now, the plagues that were going to occur after this point were that of locusts, that of darkness, that of killing of the firstborn, followed by the splitting of the sea. Corresponding to these 4 are the 4 different methods of spelling out the name Havaya. In ascending order, the locust came from the spelling out of the name Havaya with the letter Hey, given a numerical value of 52. The darkness came from spelling out the name with the letter Aleph, given a numerical value of 45. The smiting of the firstborn came from spelling out the name such that its numerical value is 63. And the splitting of the sea from spelling out the name with the letter Yud, given the numerical value of 72. As we have explained previously, there are 4 principal ways in which the name Havaya can be spelled out, given 4 different numerical values. The Yud filling gives 72, the combined filling giving 63, the Aleph filling giving 45, and the Hey filling giving 52. Should I continue?
Okay, you did the chart? Great.
Briefly.
Okay, you see the differences are in the bold
Correct.
the bold words in the chart, or letters.
So in the first, so the Yud filling has Yud.
Yeah, you don't have to read through the whole thing.
It's
as long as you see, if you look down in the column of Hey, so the 72 and 63 are Hey Yud, and 45 is Hey Aleph, and 52 is Hey Hey. In the Vav column, and that goes for both Heys. The Vav column, the 72 is Vav Yud Vav, 63 Vav Aleph Vav, 45 Vav Aleph Vav, and 52 Vav Vav. Okay. So locust is from the name of 52. An expanded spelling. There are okay. Here, guys. Here, Gershon, you say contrived. Okay.
Well, you spoiled the surprise.
Yes, and it's we have a substitution or projection. I'll ask any psychologists about this. Locust is from the name of 52. In expanded spelling, there are 4 letters Hey in the name of 52. Each of the 3 segments of the letter Hey can be considered the letter Vav. Give me a second, folks. Okay, it doesn't matter. Right, that letter Hey has three segments, one on top, one on a horizontal line on top, a vertical segment on the right, and a part of the vertical segment on the left that doesn't extend to the horizontal line on top. So we can look at each of those segments as a vav. 3 vavs make 18. This is the new math. When does 5 equal 18? Or like when you have to put those little toothpicks, matchsticks together, however, to get something. So each of the 3 segments of the letter Hey can be considered one letter vav. Thus, instead of Hey equaling 5, it can equal 18. Gematria of the 10 letters of expanded spelling of M52 is then Yud 10 plus 6 plus 4. Hey would be 8, instead of 5 plus 5, would be 18 plus 18. The Vav would be 6 plus 6, and the last Hey is, again, instead of 5 plus 5, would be 18 plus 18, which gives us 104. Guys, we learned a new trick. Okay? Like next time you pay your taxes, try to use this. Okay. Gershon, go ahead to explain.
Explain. If you picture every letter Hey as composed of 3 letters Vav, the spelling out that equals 52 will then equal 104, just like we just saw. In place of every Hey, which is 5, substitute 3 Vavs, that's 18. That's 52 equals, well, it says 52 minus 4 times 5 plus 4 times 18 equals 52 minus 20 plus 72.
It minus 20 because it's taking away the Hey.
Oh, the itself.
A Hey is usually 5. And there are 4 Heys. So instead of 5, we're using 18.
But we subtract them. All right. Now 2 times 104.
Whoa, hold on. Hey, offsides is a 5-yard penalty.
I thought we were there already. Okay.
Okay.
Oh no, I guess we didn't.
Didn't snap the ball. Okay, so 104 times 2 is 208, the value of Yitzchak. It is also the value of the 8th plague, locust, Arbeh. 1 plus 200 plus 2 plus 5. In fact, this word Arbeh also means I will increase, and that's how it's usually used. And it's specifically used in reference to Yitzchak. In Yehoshua's last speech to the people, he said, I took Avraham and I increased his offspring and I gave him Yitzchak. The word I increased, V'arbeh, is the same word as locust. And the Arbeh is 208, just like Yitzchak. Go, Abigail, continue now. 2 times 104.
Now 2 times 104, which is the numerical value of Yitzchak, is 208, the numerical value for the word locust. Yitzchak, Isaac, Yud, Tzadik, Het, Kuf, 10 plus 90 plus 8 plus 100 equals 208. Arba, locust, Aleph, Resh, Beit, Hey, 1 plus 200 plus 2 plus 5 equals 208.
Okay. Okay, so here he makes a connection to Yitzchak. It seems like a little parenthetical. Also, I'm sorry. After the Akedah, after the binding of Yitzchak, Hashem gives him a blessing.
Excuse me, from the blinking cursor, go a little down because I see it. Okay, I got it. Sorry. It looked like a money sign, but it was the cursor. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. It's important. It's important if you don't understand to speak up. And Hashem's bracha to Avraham and to Yitzchak after the Akedah, after the binding of Yitzchak, Hashem does say, I will increase your offspring, but over here he does not bring that verse. He doesn't bring that verse. He brings the verse from Yehoshua. Now, as we said, the name of 52 equals 104 if we replace each 4 letters hey with 3 vavs. 2 names Havaya in this manner give us 208. 208 is also the gematria of the word kadkod, which means vertex. I learned a new word. Or top of the head. Have you ever heard vertex before?
Vertex.
Not vortex.
Oh, vertex. Vertice. Yeah, like, yeah.
Okay.
Like the corner of a cube, that would be the vertex in Spanish, which sure comes from
Could be a pyramid or a triangle.
Okay, new to me. The vertex or top of the head, a match for, that's 204, and that's 208, I'm sorry, and that's a match for locust, Arba, and for Yitzchak. At the end of his life, so what? At the end of this, we do find this word in the Torah, and Yaakov blessed Yosef as the vertex kadkod apart from his brothers. That Yosef is the vertex apart, separated or apart from his brothers. Okay. All right. Avigail, continue.
This is the mystical meaning of the verse. I multiplied Abraham's seed and I gave him Isaac. The word for I multiplied, arba, is the same as the word for locust. Presumably, this is because locusts travel in swarms.
And
Together, Isaac and locust produce the numerical value of the word brow.
Oh, so they write the word brow. I don't know why he chose that word. I'm sure he probably had a good reason, but I looked it up in the dictionary and it didn't fit in with what I, with my experience. Okay, so continue.
Kakod. They represent 2 spellings out of the name Havaya, each having the numerical value of 52 and being spelled out with the letter Hey, as we have illustrated. This is the mystical meaning of the verse, and as the brow of the consecrated one of his brothers, which Jacob said of Joseph, who was the child of his old age.
Okay, one moment. Okay. Now, in the normal flow of divine energy, not in. The normal flow of divine energy flows from Abaya into Elohim, where it's restricted. It then descends into the 3 channels of the throat as 3 names Elohim. Elohim has 5 letters. 3 Elohim has 15 letters. The same value as the first 2 letters of Havaya, Yud and Hey. These descend to the Sphira of Yesod, the end of the torso personified by Yosef. There it is expressed as 3 names Havaya of 52. 52 times 3 is 156, the gematria of Yosef. 10 plus 6 plus 60 plus 80. Okay, Jim knows because he gave my son for his bar mitzvah, gave him a check with my son's name is Yosef. You gave him with the gematria of his name. You gave him 156.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, if I would have to say this again without reading it from the notes, I don't think I could. This is pretty good. There's a lot of dots are connected right here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Avigail, continue to explain.
To explain, when the names Havaya that signify expanded consciousness enter into those names Elohim that signify constricted consciousness, the latter descend into the throat. These three names, Elohim, possess 15 letters, 3 times 5, 15 being the numerical value of the name Ka, Yud, He, 10 plus 5. These subsequently descend as far as the Sephira of Yesod, which is personified by Yosef. There they become manifest as 3 times the name Havaya, spelled out to equal 52, 3 times 52 being 156, the numerical value of Yosef. Yosef, Yud, Vav, Samek, Hey, 10 plus 6 plus 60 plus 80. Oh, no more was found of this manuscript.
Okay, so there's 3 Elohim for the 3 channels: minister of meat, minister of baking, and minister of drinks. 3 names Elohim together have 15 letters. 15 letters is Yud and He, and that goes down to the bottom to Yesod. And because there's 3, so we have 3 names Havaya of 52, which is the Gematria of Yosef, who personifies Yesod. Record time, guys.
Is it under budget and on time?
Ahead of deadline, under budget.
Under budget.
Okay, any thoughts or comments?
To reread this, I'm a little tired, but I have a problem, which is probably semantics, because the way in the beginning and even in the last paragraph, it looks like Havaya and Elohim are 2 different entities, and I hope that's not correct. I thought there were 2 different not parts, because there are no parts of Hashem, but 2 different action.
They're 2 different parts. They're 2 different steps in the process.
So if you took at this, it's from Havaya to Elohim, it's like 2 different separate entities. And I in my little try to imagine the whole thing, it were not separate. There were 2 aspects of the same thing. Yeah.
Is it he manifests as Havaya, and lower down he manifests himself as Elohim with
yeah, it's more Gebura oriented. Elohim there's judgment, there's constriction, restriction.
Yep.
So I did not, and then the link to Isaac and the link to Joseph, I didn't get to that. So, I mean, as I said, my neck is killing me. And
yeah, I feel the same way, like I need to read this again. Let's do this.
So let me
Let's
just
do this
try
one again next week.
Can we try this thought? I just had a thought, maybe way far out, but Havaya is the point of Havaya is to enter into the as it expands consciousness, enters into the names of Elohim, which is constricted consciousness. That's what Pharaoh has to go through, and he has to go through this because that's Hashem wants to eliminate the evil, and the way that is done is through that flow of Havaya. And it's almost when the interesting piece of Joseph, which is I just had as kind of flash, is that Joseph he essentially sweetens some of these henchmen. He certainly sweetens the butler, if you think of the butler as pouring the wine, and the baker. And if you look at Potiphar, you can talk to him like he's the butcher, and he's done that as well. So I don't know. I thought there was a connection in that sense as well with Joseph, and that kind of was amazing. Anyway, throwing that one out.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Again, I want to go back to the notes. Number 1. Havaya is the creator, the emanator, the power source of creation.
Mhm.
Havaya radiates divine energy without limits, without restrictions.
Mhm.
Elohim receives divine energy from Havaya and gives it structure. It's the regulator. There must be another technical term. The regulator that makes it possible for creation to receive light without being overwhelmed. That is the two of them. Elohim is the source of the natural order by which the world runs. Okay, we need to have a world, it comes from Elohim.
Mhm.
But that's not
But
the power source. The power source is Havaya.
Yeah.
Elohim is the natural process, which is what gives people their consciousness apart from divinity, and we see that existing, and we lose consciousness of that which is the source. So what has to happen is we have to bring the source back to the natural order, and that's exactly our job, is to elevate everything that's natural, to bring out and refine it to bring out its natural source, and instead of getting caught into the trap and the fumble of believing that the world is just a natural place of constriction and judgment and Elohim and the ministry of truth, etc.
And that the source, the mistake is that Elohim is the source.
Right. Well, that's
Right.
the ministry of truth. I was making that kind of a joke, but that's exactly what I was talking about.
That's what idols are about, and
that's exactly. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good. And then we say Shema Yisrael.
That's where I was going with that. Yeah.
Okay. When we say Shema Yisrael, we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu. Elokeinu means our Elohim.
Right.
So what we're saying when we say Shema is that what appears to us, that where we see that Elohim is everything in control, that it's actually Havaya is above Elohim, that is supplying the power and energy to Elohim. So that Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, this is one thing, and then Elohim is not an independent entity from Havaya, but it is something that works closely with Havaya to for creation to occur and to be maintained.
Right.
And the last thing is there was something about the origin of evil was because it came out of
because Havaya, the divine energy, is constricted. It's closed. It's severely limited. So therefore, we can say therefore there's Elohim, and then evil can exist. In practical terms, it would be like saying today, if someone tells you that right now, it's dark outside, okay, it's ridiculous. If someone tells you that the stock market is having a great week or a great month, okay, it's ridiculous. So if someone says something like that, you would put them in the loony bin. If someone says, I don't believe in God, so we make him a PhD and have him and have him teach philosophy and theology. I don't believe in God. It is we don't laugh him out of the room. It's an acceptable, rational opinion today. How can that be an acceptable, rational opinion? It's because Elohim conceals the godliness. So much so that it's possible to say that God doesn't exist. Okay, that is in practical terms what the concealment of Elohim does. In Kabbalistic terms, it allows evil to exist. Evil can say, that I can do what I want. I don't have to follow God.
So once the physical world can exist, the evil can exist as well.
Yes, but not only the physical world. Remember, there are 4 stages of creation. Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, Asiya. In Atzilus, the divine energy shines very strongly. In Bria, there's already the divine energy is concealed enough that Kalipa can exist. In Yetzirah, the divine energy is concealed more, and more Kalipa can exist. And finally, in Asiya, there's so much divine energy is concealed that it is actually in the minority.
Okay.
So Yosef fits into this. How? He's the brow, the vertex?
I think it just mentions Yosef.
I mean, I think of Yosef as the one who was in a holy place, went to the most evil place possible and brought the holiness out, right? He's the whole story of everything.
Good point. Good point. I think in general, this chapter describes the flow of divine energy.
Okay.
And it seems to me that that's what a lot of the focus of the chapter is on, and therefore it ends off with Yosef. There is the other connection, 2 connections. One, that Yosef is called in Torah Kadkod, the vertex, which is 208, which is twice 104 and 4 times 52. So we get him in that way. And the other thing is that we talked about the flow of divine energy from the intellect and the head, Havaya, through the constriction of the neck and the 3 ministers of Paro, into the heart. And so once we're already talking that, we talk how it extends down to Yesod. And Yesod is Yosef. And then he fits in because he's 156. And we're talking about the Havaya of that equals 52. And 52, and then there's 3 of them because they went through the neck. So there's 3 Havaya equals 156, which is Yosef. There's a lot of dots that are connected. So but I think overall, it seems to me the whole chapter is about the flow of divine energy, primarily the relationship between Havaya and Elokim.
And the neck has 3.
With the neck, it gets divided into 3 channels.
And the meaning of 3 is what?
Trachea, esophagus, and vein.
The trachea, the esophagus, I can't remember the third one.
No,
aorta.
And the vein, the jugular vein.
That's the patriarchs.
And it's the 3 ministers, the 3 ministers of Paro.
They're the ministers of Pharaoh, the butcher, the
Right.
butler, the butler, and the other one.
Baker,
the baker, the guy who gets smashed, gets hung.
I'm just wondering,
with
our governor.
the birds on his head.
why are there 3, not 4 or 7? I mean, we know what 3 is in Torah, right?
I know 3.
Why is it 3?
Maybe this is the opposite of the Avos. These are the evil Avos.
Well, we're talking about the way things go in the normal way. Is it connected with the Avos? It could be. We didn't go into that. Why especially 3 and not 4? What happened to the other ministers? The Torah mentions 3 ministers of Paro.
There were 3 advisors Pharaoh had as well: Yitro, Job, and Bilam. I don't know if that makes any difference. He had those 3 advisors, and he discussed the whether or not the Jewish people should be killed, and the boys should be killed. And Bilam was all for it, and Job was silent, and Yitro said no, and he got exiled. And so maybe that has something. I don't know.
We'd love to find out what all that was about.
We could go into, we could conjecture into other things. In Kabbalah, and why this is and so on. In Kabbalah, the path from the intellect to the emotions goes through 3 channels to get there. We didn't say Kabbalistically what those 3 channels are. We used the metaphors of the ministers of Paro. We used the metaphor of the body. And then we did go into we did talk about that this goes through 3 Elokim, if I'm not mistaken, 3 constrictions, but exactly why there has to be 3 that we did not touch on.
Okay.
Okay. I should step